Let's review solving expressions. Problem number 1 says to solve. This is a negative 23 minus 12. So if you think of a number line, you're actually going to start at negative 23 and you're going to go 12 to the left. And because we're doing that, we're technically going to add these together. So we're technically going to add negative 23 to negative 12. And when we do that, we get negative 35. You can also think of it if the temperature starts out at negative 23 degrees and it gets 12 degrees colder, the new temperature would be negative 35 degrees. Now let's look at problem number 2. Problem number 2 says to add these fractions. The easiest way to probably add them would be to line them up and down. Since they're both negative, we're actually just going to add them together. 3/11ths plus 8/11ths, they already have a common denominator, so that would be 11/11ths. When we combine negative 4 and negative 5, we get negative 9. So negative 9 and 11/11ths, actually 11/11ths is one whole. So when we add that to the 9, we really get negative 10. So our final answer is negative 10. Remember, when you're adding and subtracting fractions, you have to get a common denominator. That brings us to number 3. Number 3 says subtract. It's not telling me which way to subtract. So when it doesn't say that, I'm going to do negative 7 over 15 minus negative 4 over 5. Don't forget that two minus signs next to each other make a giant plus sign. So this really becomes a plus. So now I need to get my common denominator, which I'm noticing is going to be 15. So negative 7 over 15 is going to stay, plus, I'm going to make this a 15. How many 5s go into 15? 3. 3 times 4 is 12. So 12 would be my new numerator. Now, when one fraction is positive and the other is negative, we're really going to subtract these. The 12 is bigger than the 7, so we're going to do 12 minus 7, which would give me positive 5. So positive 5 over 15. And then what I would do is I would simplify this. I could divide the numerator and denominator by 5, and I would get 1/3. Problem number 4 means to multiply. Okay, 4 is a little different than problem number 1. Here, this was negative 23 minus 12. Here, this is negative 12 times negative 6 because the parenthesis is right next to the 12. So we should remember that a negative times a negative is a positive, and then 12 times 6 is 72. Number 5 says to find the product. Product is when we multiply, and I would write these next to each other. First, I would say a negative times a negative is a positive, so therefore I'm not going to worry about the negative signs anymore. Now, if you remember, you can cross simplify. I notice there's an 8 on the top and an 8 on the bottom. I can cross out an 8 on the bottom and an 8 on the top because I can divide these 8s by 8 and I get 1 and 1. 5 and 13 I can't do anything with. So now I'm going to multiply straight across. 1 times 5 is 5. 13 times 1 is 13. And my final answer is 5 over 13. Good luck on the next couple of problems.